Hey everybody, let me just start with this is a really difficult video to make, and losing my dad was the hardest thing that I've had to deal with in my life. So, yeah. When it comes to this topic, I was told by friends in the industry and family as well that I probably shouldn't speak on it because it could lead to my career maybe being blacklisted or shunned and whatever. But I personally think that my dad is more important to me than my career, and I just feel like I've been holding this in for a while, almost a year, almost, 6 months, and I've been sitting on this for a while, so I'm just going to speak freely and talk to you all like a normal person. This video is obviously about the Boondocks and my dad, his character, Grandad. This is for everybody who comments on my social media platforms and ask, what are they doing with the show? Am I involved? What's the plan with it? Is there anything that you know, JD? And I'm here to just tell you my experience. I have my notes. I have talking points because it's a lot of information. I genuinely could not remember it all off the top of my head. I had to write it down. So I'll be talking through it. But yeah, I hope you all understand. So like I said, this video is meant for the fans of my father, people who support me and my career, who have known me prior to him passing away and now knowing me because he's gone, and maybe you found me, I guess, on the internet or whatever. But this video, let me just do a quick little, I guess, not necessarily a disclaimer. I have no plans on outing anybody. This is not an expose video. This is not like a petty tea talk type of video. This is just me talking about my experience. I'm not naming anyone. I'm just going to explain to you what happened, for me at least. And this is meant to be informative, just to give you all some transparency on, I guess, what happened, what I experienced when it came to the project. Also, let me clarify that nothing I say in this video is going to be directed towards anyone who's on the original cast of the Boondocks. This has nothing to do with them. This was specifically between me and creative producers and people who are higher up, who are working on the show, making the decisions in the background. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Last year in May, me and my dad, we were on our buddy Joe Rogan's podcast. Shout out to Joe for inviting us. I see Joe all the time at the comedy clubs, and he invited me and my dad to come and speak on his podcast. And while we were on the podcast, my dad happened to mention that the Boondocks was coming back.
I didn't change my voice for the Boondocks.
No.
I did that. And they coming back. They're coming, but Boondocks are coming back.
That's a great show.
Now, my dad discussed that they were in the negotiation stages of the contracts for him and the other cast members, and that they hadn't come to a decision on what they were going to get paid. And also on that podcast, it was a nice, fun one. It was a great one. A lot of people said they loved it. While I was on there, I did an impression of my dad, because I do impressions. For those who are out there, I'm a voice actor. I've been voice acting for 7+ years. I also act. I do stand-up. Do all these things, and it's just information that if you're brand new, you might not know this, but a lot of people saw that. And I do my dad's voice on the podcast.
How do you feel about your son's impression of you? It's really good.
Well, here, I only know it because this is how he talks to me all the time. He'll always be like, JD, what you doing today? You got work. You got to go sit back and talk to all them people. Hi. Yeah.
I ain't never.
He does all the noises, like him just breathing.
So yeah, shout out to a lot of you who watched that podcast and, I guess came and said that they enjoyed the comedy and content that I was putting out, and the fact that I, do impressions and whatnot. And, I just did that like impression in the moment just because Joe was like, can you do it real quick, this and that. My dad, it's not even like something that it's not like I need to train to do it. As a voice actor, I can hear his cadence. I've known him for like ever. So it was just something I like to have fun with. And, it was, it's just like a funny thing that I do with my dad. Like everybody who has kids or anyone who's an adult, it's one of those things where when you grow up, you kind of sound like your parents. And that was just one of those moments where I was just having fun and, turned into like a thing. So now that my dad is gone, I've gotten a lot of comments on my social media posts, especially when he passed immediately from like in October, everyone was commenting, are you going to voice your dad? Are you going to be this? Are you going to do that? I got comments. I still get them, like every once in a while. And I know people went back to that video and it has like over 800,000 views of people who have seen me do that impression. So I'd be just as curious as them if I had seen that. Now, everybody has questions about the Boondocks reboot and whatnot, but, I think the misconception with the new season of the Boondocks is that I think some people think that my dad had already previously recorded some audio or had started recording audio prior to him passing, hence because he mentioned that it was coming back. But they were still in negotiations, and he never recorded anything. So no, they didn't do any sessions. He didn't get any contract signed. It never went through. We actually had a conversation about him and the Boondocks because I'd stop by my parents' house. I would say, "Hey man, what's going on with you and your show?" And I remember he was like, "Oh JD, they haven't gotten that money yet. They haven't figured out how much money they want to give us." And I remember him telling me, if they don't fix that money situation, shit, they might as well call you to do the job. You can do my voice. Why don't you go get that little money? Mind you, funny joke, but backhanded compliment. That's my dad. Dads are like that. And I told him, yeah, no, man, I'm good. I was like, I don't want your job. I've never wanted anything career-wise that he had. And I was just genuinely sitting back like, no, you guys will figure it out. You'll get the money negotiated and you'll go do the show. You'll have fun. It's your character. And I know that the issue with the negotiations of the contracts and the money was specifically the fact that, according to what my dad told me, this is just information I got from my own father, they were offering them the same money that they had made back on the last season of whatever it was. I guess it would be season 5. They split up the last season into 2 seasons, 4 and 5. So they were offering him and the rest of the cast the same amount of money that they had made back then. And my dad and all of them, everyone has gone through their careers and more things have happened for them. And he was just like, yeah, no, I don't plan on signing that. And he specifically told me, he was like, if they don't figure it out, I'm just not going to do it. And maybe they'll figure something else out and find some new people. But he was skeptical that would even happen. Also, he wasn't aware that he was going to pass away. Nobody was, which was really frustrating. So yeah, that's why that they didn't start the Boondocks sooner, because I think they would have already been recording probably by midsummer, early fall, if they had figured out the technical aspects of the contracts and negotiations. Now, obviously, unfortunately, a month later, after I think I had that conversation with him, I think it was like in September, and then in October, he passed away. October 29th, he had like a massive stroke / cardiac arrest, heart attack type thing. I've got the autopsy and all that stuff, but it's hard to read because but like a week later, we did the funeral, and while we were at the funeral, I was there and I spoke on the podium. And when I was speaking on the podium, I told stories about my dad, because I don't know what else to do at a funeral about someone who's that close to you. And when I tell these stories, I tell them sounding like him, because that's how I tell stories as an impressionist, a voice actor. I just go into character. And, a lot of people there, I guess, really enjoyed it because I sound exactly like him.
He would get asked about projects that he knows he doesn't have clearance on telling you if it's coming or not. But he would go on every radio show and he'd be like, oh yeah, well, I talked to Cube last week, and he said we're going to do this last Friday. And I can't wait to get that money. And I'm like, when I see interviews like that, I'm like, yo, so you talk to Q? He's like, no, but maybe they'll move this shit along. You don't get this money. I'm like, yo, you can't just. This man was manifesting jobs that ain't there yet. I'm like, you can't. It was wild, man. No one in here needs to worry if he knew that you liked him or loved him. He would gloat about it at the house. So I'd be like, Dad, I was like, so many people like you. He's like, oh, I know everybody loves me. Everybody loves me. But yeah, I just want to say, I appreciate all of y'all. I appreciate everyone who responded to my text. friends, family, entertainers, non-entertainers, people who knew him. I didn't want to leave y'all hanging because I know that's got to be really sad to look up on the news one day and one of your good buddies is gone and you have no way to, close it out or have closure. So for everybody who responded to my text messages and contacts, I hope that helped out, and I hope, you get a little bit of closure just like me, all right?
Now, the funeral was less of like a sad day. It was more of a celebration. There was a whole bunch of people, plenty of people he worked with in the industry, plenty of people who were who have worked with him, who had, writers, directors, comedians, actors. It was almost like a little too enjoyable, in my opinion. I was a little desensitized while I was there because I was just grasping the fact that he's not coming back, and I still have trouble with that. And we celebrated him though. It was really beautiful, and we got a chance to celebrate him. But after I got off stage, I had friends and family and people in the industry who were like, "Hey man, yo, that voice though, man, you got to go do your pops on the cartoon, right?" Because that was like the last thing that he, I guess, technically didn't finish. Like, that was one of the last projects that was still there. I never considered that. I never considered, I didn't consider voicing him prior to him leaving, obviously. When he did leave, I think when people asked me about that on the day, I was kind of like, hey, yeah, I'm not really thinking about that right now. So thanks. I appreciate that you enjoyed the way I sounded on stage, but I'm trying to just deal with this right now. Now at the funeral, there were people who had worked on the Boondocks who were like producers and creative people who participated in the funeral and the repast, and were very upset about my dad leaving, like bawling their eyes out. And it's one of those things where looking back, it's a little, I don't know, odd, because these people, they know my dad and they worked with him, but they didn't spend time with him like that. So it felt like they were crying and being upset more at the fact that they lost their character for their cartoon show, and less that they lost that, that I and my family lost a person. But, that's neither here nor there. Everybody grieves in their own type of way. But, yeah, when we were there, I was approached and talked to after, because I was on stage and I sounded like him, by one of them who works for the Boondocks, saying, hey, we don't know what we're going to do now. We're not sure how the show's going to go, but we might call you in because, it's weird because they don't know me personally. They know my dad, so they know me by proxy, which is similar to maybe a lot of people out here who watch me. You don't really know my career. And they were like saying how they were surprised that I was capable of doing that on stage. And I was like, oh, yeah, I work. I'm an actor. I'm a voice actor. I've been doing it for 10 plus years now. So, I was just like, thank you. I appreciate it. And then they said, well, we'll give you a call and talk to you soon about it, and hopefully we can figure something out. So like a few weeks go by, and eventually one of the producers contacts me about auditioning for the role of my dad on the Boondocks to play Grandad. And when they originally contacted me, it was really like comforting and heartwarming, because they initially felt like they seemed like very inclined to have me voice his character. I had heard from other sources that they were going to audition other people, which I was like, yeah, sure. It's a role. I'm a professional actor. I know what it's like to audition. I wouldn't expect to be gifted it. But they approached me and offered to sit down and workshop the voice with me, and also, basically give me feedback on what I'm capable of and what I can do, what they think could be stronger. And all of that sounded like a great idea when they first called me. And they seemed very enthusiastic about it, as if they were very set on trying to help me get the role. So a little later that week, they sent me the script for the pilot episode, and they told me, to look through it and maybe find some lines that I could really resonate with, record some audio at home, because I have a home studio. I'm using this microphone. I know it looks like I'm doing stand-up. I'm not doing stand-up. This is just the only mic that I have that travels. And they said, hey, record some audio, look through the script, send it back, and we'll give you some feedback and advice on it. And I was like, oh yeah, for sure, bet, let's make that happen. So I recorded those lines pretty quickly, and I sent them back within a week. But it got weird after that. I don't know why. I don't know if there was like some sort of Hollywood behind the scenes stuff happening. You know, it's one of those things where in this business nobody tells you shit. But things got a little odd, and you know, I assume at this point they were probably auditioning other people for the role, because I knew some people in the industry who were older, who were friends of my dad, who contacted me saying that they were taking them in for the role, and they were sitting back like, I don't know how to sound like John. I don't know. I have no idea what that is. But yeah, I just found that kind of interesting. But hey, that's, you know, them's the breaks. But I wasn't worried because I know what I'm capable of, and I know my dad too well. Like, I know him like the back of my hand. I know how he breathes. I know all this stuff that not many people know. Plus, I have archives of footage on my computer if I ever need references. So it's one of those things where it's like I have the moments, right? So then like a little time goes by, and I tried to follow up with the producers that I was in contact with about the workshopping session, because they were like, we're going to like 1v1, we'll sit down, we'll talk about it. Because they were talking about, they wanted to figure out the best approach to get this voice to be really perfect and sound as authentic and as much in his voice as it could sound. And it was weird because every time I reached out, I was like met with excuses. I don't know what happened or what changed, but they went from saying like, yo, JD, we got to sit down, we got to figure this out, blah, 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 like within like the week of the funeral, to I would like contact them and say, hey, it's been a few weeks. I sent you, and mind you, I sent them the audio, and nothing had come from it yet. But they got back to me with a lot of like, hey, I'm busy. Sorry, I'm not in the mental space for voices, which I thought that was really weird to say to me. I was like, your dad didn't die, so I don't know why. I have no idea why you're. I mean, if you're grieving, sure, but it seemed like it was like made up excuses to kind of give them time to work with the people they were working with. I have no idea. But yeah, I just thought that statement just was weird. So then a few more weeks go by, and we never got the chance. We never got the chance to sit down and workshop and work through the voice at all. So I just did what I do best. I just practiced and, sat back watching like old videos of me and my dad reminiscing. It, was pretty tough because like the wound was so fresh, and I'm capable of doing it. Like, I don't get sad doing his voice. And I've heard people think that or contact me and say like, hey man, I don't know if this is something you're able to do. And I'm like, no, I can do it. 'Cause like, it makes me happy. It doesn't make me sad. I get happy when I can like bring his voice out of my body and then kind of feel like I have a moment with him again. Then a month goes by and I don't hear anything, but randomly within that month, a month goes by without me hearing anything, and then randomly they contact me with information about an audition date to come into the studio and lay down some vocals. And it was pretty abrupt and random, especially since they never gave me feedback on the audio I sent them. And I sent them like some good audio clips. Like, it was me working on the voice, and I was working on it so much that I started to like lose myself in it to the point where I sounded too much like him, and it was like creeping me out.
Oh, nice. Thank you, boy. Huey, was that you that just gassed that ruckus rally? Nigga, I ain't got no money. Drones cost money. Tear gas costs money. Get your ass upstairs right now. You alive, and that's enough. Terrible fucking grandkids. Sorry I ever had kids and that they ever had kids. Shit. Damn it, Ruckus, what is your fucking problem? Why can't you just leave us alone? Let niggas live in peace? Oh, how it pains the heart to see the ungrateful youth cast aside the sacrifices of great civil rights legends such as myself, who fought and died for that sacred right to have our voices heard. The right to vote? Yeah. Life under Ruckus has sucked. I'll give you that. But tomorrow, I'll go cast my ballot for good old loser time. And that's it. Look, now, I paid good money for my house. And I ain't going anywhere. No way. No way.
All right, guys, that's me, JD Witherspoon. Let me know what you think. I also just thought it was kind of odd that they wanted to set up this workshop and 1v1 and get down to business with all this stuff, but then they just started getting flaky, and it didn't get great from there. Now, the original date that I was supposed to go into audition was scheduled on a week where I was in New York. If you follow me, you saw that I was in New York, maybe on Instagram or somewhere. And next thing you know, they scheduled it for the following week. And between that 1 week, it got really weird. Like, I don't know how to explain. It's just like Hollywood BS started happening. That's the best way I can explain it. It's like they got more and more distant from me. And mind you, I've known these people since I was like 11. So it was pretty discouraging. So I would reach out with questions about the role since we never got a chance to sit down and talk about it. And it was like I was met with silence for a little bit. I got not necessarily ghosted, but they were just kind of like left me on red. Didn't get like much out of it except for one word text replies and answers. And I didn't really think anything of it because I was just like, you know what, I'm a professional, so I'm just going to go in prepared and do what I know. I know my dad like the back of my hand. I've had 31 plus years with him. And I don't want y'all to think that I'm so adamant about this stupid job. Like, at the end of the day, I don't care about the job. I wanted to honor him. Like, I felt compelled to like not necessarily fill his shoes, because that's a thing that I don't like hearing on the internet. People say it all the time, but it's like his shoes are filled. He's gone. He's passed away, and I have my own life to live. But I guess like a piece of me emotionally was clinging on to the fact that I guess this was like the last little piece of him that was left here on Earth. Obviously I have my memories of him and I have my family, but this was like the last piece of what people knew him for that was left. And I kind of just wanted to do him proud. It was that was the mindset that I was going through. All right, so now we get to the day of the audition, right? It was weird. It was weird. I don't know how to explain it to you other than it was a very weird audition. When I got into the studio, I met up with the high-ups that I knew on the creative team. I met the casting director. I was with some of the producers, the sound engineers, and people in the room, people that I knew personally, who I've known for years. And when I was in the booth, this is one of the like weirder things that happened. I was standing there and I'm looking through my script, and it was a voice matching / cadence / performance audition, but I was really focused on trying to sound like my dad. I know what the character sounds like. He's established. So let me just focus on that and I should be golden. I know how to sound like my dad, like that. So when I got in the room, the casting director oddly said to me, "Hey, first time in front of the mic?" And I was like looking around because I was actually concerned because I was like, no, has no one seen my like resume? Did my reps not send it? Which they did. Or have they have you not even like have you Googled me, but I have an IMDb, I have credits. I thought that like threw me off my game for like half a second. Not enough for me to do bad or anything, just I was like, no, I have been in front of mics before. I was like, I'm on 3 animated series, bro. I was like, I'm on 2 on Adult Swim, 1 on Fuse TV. It really took me back hearing that. And it was one of those things where I heard that and I thought to myself, does no one here know that I work in the voice acting industry? Because that's not good. Like, I thought someone would do their due diligence. But, I don't know. It was just a very odd encounter when I first got there. I did not expect that from the casting director. All right, so the next part, we started the audition, and personally, I think I did a great job. I sat back and said to myself, I know this man too well for me not to do this right. You know, so I was in the room, I was doing my voices, I was keeping them up, we were doing all the Boondocks related stuff, but weird stuff just kept happening. Now, I would do like certain line reads, right? So I would read through the script, and I would read through the script, and when you're a voice actor, you know, you have moments where you can hear that you're like not hitting the mark, right? But oddly enough, I was getting the okay from everyone in the room. Like, I knew I was doing bad takes, and I was like, hey, let's run it again. And they were like, no, that's good. And I was like, no. I was like, that was not good. I heard myself lose the voice for a few seconds, and it kind of dipped into what I sound like or dipped into something completely different. And I thought that was extremely odd that they wanted me to kind of push through it and just say that like bad takes were good. Also, this was very, very concerning to me is I was in the room with the creative people, higher ups, people who are making decisions on the show and who's going to voice who's going to act as what. And when you're auditioning for voice acting, you know, if you get like that, because that was technically like a producer session. So if you get into something like that, there's a director, there's a producer, there's the casting director, there's the technician, the people who are helping you read the lines and all that stuff. And it was a little weird because in the process, they'll kind of give you notes, right? Like, because it's a voice, you know, it's not like you're acting on camera. When you're acting on camera, some people will just let you do your thing, and that's the same with voice acting. But the people behind the mic who are recording you, they are more hands-on, and they usually will give you notes while you're reading. But the weirdest part of my audition was the fact that when I was doing a majority of it, I got no notes. I got no feedback. I was just sitting there, and when I was going through it, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And in my brain, this has never happened. I've never done a voiceover audition where someone didn't say, hey, can we do a second take? Or, hey, can you try it like this? Or, hey, what if you try that? What if you do this? I didn't get any of that. So in my brain, I assumed, oh, okay, I'm killing it. Like, nobody's got anything to say. I'm doing so well that no one has any complaints. I was like, oh, this is done. This is a done deal. I booked this. No big deal. Because I've had jobs like that before. But at the end of the day, when I knew I did a bad take, no one would stop me. And that was so weird. It was so weird because I told myself, JD, that's not good. Like, if they give that to whoever's making the final decisions, you're not going to get the job. So I would say, hey, can we please do another take? Now, they get to cut and edit my audition, so I have no idea. I have no idea what the hell they gave people. It could have been good. It could have been really bad. I'll never know. Now, after I wrapped my audition, I sat back and I talked with one of the producers, and I told them, look, I was like, hey, you know, this is my dad. This means a lot to me. This is, you know, like, it's like personal. And I think, and it was one of those things where they were saying I was hitting the mark the whole time. And I just told them, hey, it would be great to work with you guys and really flush out this character and make it as genuine and authentic as possible so that the audience, you all at home, can enjoy the new series and the reboot. And it feels like my dad. Because, like, at the end of the day, I just genuinely, you know, wanted to do right by him. And I wanted to make sure that the fans at home get the best experience. I'm like, it had nothing to do with my career. Like, it was, I can't even explain it in the sense of emotion. I just wanted to, like, make him proud. Now, we're going to talk about it getting even weirder after that, because after I said all that, the producer who I was talking with and was working with that day said that the choosing of the role is not completely up to them or the people in the room. They told me and broke it down that it's between them, the studio, the network, and one of the higher up creatives who specifically said that they do not want to be a part of this project if they don't get my dad's voice right. Now, when I heard that personally, I was confident. I was like, oh, we're good then. Like, bruh, I killed that. I know my dad. I'm here and I can do right by him and I can make everyone at home happy. It's a done deal. Like, especially if there's someone who is integral to the process of the show, to the point where they said, listen, you do it right, sure, we'll get it done. If not, I don't want to be a part of it. I genuinely sat back and heard that information, and said to myself, there we go. We're good, man. That's awesome. We're going to work on this show, and it'll be really cool. And, you know, I know my dad's looking down. And he's proud, obviously, but it just meant a little more to me. And I was just, that information kind of like sealed the deal for me, despite how weird it was that day. I was like, okay, you all were acting really weird, but as long as there's someone on the outside looking in who can listen to my voice, hear the audition, and say, okay, that guy got it. Like, he nailed it. That sounds like John. That sounds like my dad. There's nothing else to worry about. And at the end of the day, it's not that I'm so confident. I just personally think that I know how my dad sounds better than anyone else based upon the 31 years that I had living with him, having so many conversations with him. I know how he like laughs. I know how he breathes. I know the stuff outside of the character of Grandad that people don't know. And I've seen people on the internet try to sound like him, but they're doing more or less a caricature of one of the characters he plays. They're not getting the nuances and the genuine cadence that my father sounds like, in my opinion. They're just doing a really decent cover. They're doing like a cover of a guy who's playing a guy. You know what I'm saying? That's how it sounds to me. But to the normal person's ear, you know, you all might not hear that. You have to have an ear for voice acting, and a lot of at-home fans don't necessarily have it. They just hear like a, you know, funny version of somebody, and they're like, "Oh snap, that's great. That we're here, 100%." And it'll be like so far off, and it's just weird that's how it works. Now, even after them telling me about who was a part of the decision process, it still got weirder. It got even more odd, because the same producer tells me, like kind of like in a sad, like melancholy type way, "Hey, listen, no matter what happens, I'll try to get you on the show." And I was like, bro, what are you talking about? I just killed this audition. What does that mean? I didn't even really understand why they told me that. That was weird of them. I'm like, that sounds like you're not going to book me. That sounds like you want to give it to somebody else already, or you already found who they wanted to choose. And for those of you who know Hollywood or know how acting or voice acting, any of that stuff works, that happens. That happens in Hollywood, where they will hire somebody to do the job, and they'll have a string of auditions left for people that are already on the call-in sheet to come in and audition, and they'll force these people to come in and perform for a job that's not even available anymore, because somebody who's probably arrogant or just doesn't care to look at any other people is just sitting back and saying, "Oh no, that's it. We're done. That's him. That's her. That's who we're going to choose." They don't give anyone else a chance, and they just move on. So hearing that kind of got me discouraged. And I mean, I still kind of was like, I had a little bit of hope just because of what they told me about how somebody just said they refuse to be a part of it if it's not right. And I was like, well, I know that if I do it, it's right. I just, it's one of those things where, not even because I'm his son, it's more because I'm telling y'all, I know this man. It's, you know, I'm biased, absolutely. If this was like anyone else, I would say, yeah, sure, maybe. I'm probably not the guy, but for this specific role, I just couldn't see anything but that. And not even arrogantly, just genuinely. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm glad that I'm here. I would think that they'd be more relieved to know, oh, wait, John passed away, but he has a son who's a working voice actor who sounds exactly like him, who has the credentials to show for it. Well, what a saving grace. This is amazing. But look, after the audition, we sat down and we talked for a little bit, because, like I said, I've known some of these people for like the last 10, 15 years. I can't even remember. I feel like I was like 14 or something when the Boondocks first started in like 2000 something, maybe 13. So I've known these people for a long time in my life, the ones that were part of the original crew. And, you know, they showed me some of the animation from the show. And then, you know, I went on my way home. I went on my way home confident that I had booked the job. And I just sat back and said, you know, strictly based off of what I gave them in the room, I know that had to be the most solid product they had heard. I assume, confidence bias, whatever you want to call it, woefully ignorant. It was one of the things where I'm like, if you guys want to do the job right, I can't imagine you going with anyone else. Well, now here comes the unfortunate part of my video, where 3 weeks later, I finally get a call back, and they reach out to me, and it's one of the lead creative producers, and I was working with them that day, and they gave me the bad news that they were going to go with a different actor. And I still, to this day, have no idea why. And when they contacted me, this information just had me like awestruck. Like I was shocked because I just genuinely couldn't understand it. And like I said, till this day, I have no idea why. What is it that catered towards their decision? But I also do remember during my audition that they did tell me about how they reached out to some specific actors literally the same week my dad had passed. And I was like, why are you telling me this? First off, that's really rude and disrespectful, because you're literally demeaning me in front of me on the phone. And at the same time, you're making me feel less than now while you're explaining to me how, sorry, man, you're good, but no thank you. And mind you, like, that means they reached out to people the weeks where, like, I was waiting for them to get back to me about the one-on-one session and the workshopping and trying to, and even just even getting feedback on my audio. Like, I was like, how hard is it to write me an email and say, hey, JD, this line was good, that line was decent, I think you can work on this. I didn't even get any of that. I was like, yo, what is this? Y'all are treating me like fucking garbage, dog. Now, personally, I know who they chose, and this part is really gross to me because I've met this person twice. I don't fucking care for them. I doubt they care for me. It's neither here nor there. I don't like or dislike them. I'm neutral about it. But I sit back and I realize now, or like a little bit after this all happened, that I had seen this person who they casted for the role on my social media on Instagram, and they were like watching my stories of like me and my dad, like the Starry Night video that I put up, and like the videos that are just the personal moments and the ones that are on my feed. And literally I'm now realizing that they probably were and it's fucking gross, they were probably trying to practice how to sound like him based off of my grief and the videos that I was posting. And like, just thinking about that really disgusts me and makes me really angry. But that's Hollywood, man. Nobody gives a fuck about anybody's feelings, and they just, oh, you're sad? Well, we gotta book. I gotta book this fucking role, man. I just hate that they were looking through my profile using my grief as reference points for their audition. And I know this person was on my social media because we don't follow each other. And I was like, okay, that's fucking scummy, man. And I don't know, this might just be me, but when it comes to actors or voice actors or whoever portraying people who just recently died, I feel personally, this is just my own personal thing, and some of you might disagree, I think it's one of those things where if it's like this situation where my dad died and then immediately after they're trying to replace him, I would think that you as a human being, not that you would turn down the role, but you would at least reach out to the family and talk to us about how we feel about it and if we could like give you our blessing. Not saying that matters, not saying that anyone has to do that. I'm sure there's probably some people who are like, man, fuck that. I'm trying to get this bread. I'm trying to get this money. I just think it's gross. I just think it's gross. Like, they didn't go outside of Paul Walker. They worked with his own brothers who have like the same body frame as him to try to make the role as genuine and true to the character as possible. And that point is a little off topic, but I just think that that's just the type of person I am, where if I was auditioning for the role of a person who recently died, I would reach out to the family. I think the family should be involved and at least give like a small amount of input if they're at least like, knowledgeable of the entertainment industry, which my family is. And they didn't do that. They didn't fucking care. Not just the actor, but the producers, the production, the network, the people, nothing against the network and the production company, because I don't know anyone there. I have no idea. This is strictly towards the people who know who they are, who are possibly watching this. Like, who you are, and I think you're a fucking scumbag. Like, not just one person, like scumbags, plural. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if anybody feels a type of way about this, because that's my dad, man. So let me not get too emotional, get angry, but that's my dad. And I don't even think people saw him as that. And I know that some of you all out there, you see him as this entertainer, this beacon, this father figure in the entertainment industry, which he is to everybody. But, at the end of the day, he's like my biological father, and it just hurts so much more. Like, you all are lucky enough to, and I'm sure you have your own losses and grief and all that stuff, but it's so much different having a person of interest or a public figure, an entertainer, die, because I'm plagued with like seeing him every day. I would say that the people who can relate to this would be like Vanessa Bryant and her family. Like, I couldn't understand the amount of grief they're going through. Like, my dad at least died after living a full life, but Kobe and Gianna, which is extremely sad, like, as long as basketball exists, that family has to think about Kobe Bryant and their daughter. That it's never going to go away. And when you're getting over the grief, like, I'm not over it at all, it's so much harder. Like, the depression builds up and you can't find a moment of escape. Like, some days I don't want to be sad. Some days I don't want to grieve about my dad. There are days where I'm like, I just want to post random shit on the internet and not have anybody respond with, "You are your father's son." And like, I'm not upset about it. It's just a lot. And in this whole process of auditioning for the Boondocks, I just felt like not that I deserve anything. I just didn't understand the behavior of some of these people. I was genuinely at a loss for words the way this was being handled. And at the end of the day, they don't have to go home and cry for hours or like lose sleep over it. I've been for the better majority of like 6 months, I've just been like broken, like because my dad is gone. And with that role being given to someone who doesn't know him at all, like, I want people to really consider that. Like, it's someone who doesn't know him at all. It's not even a close friend. I could at least get behind, like, if a close friend from the industry kind of sounded like him and they just wanted to try something with an older guy, sure. But yeah, it just hurts, man. It really hurts. And I'm not saying that I want anyone to start any type of ruckus or cancel culture. Please don't do that stupid shit. It's not going to do anything. I'm very much aware that I'm never going to work with these people ever in my career, and I am completely fine with that. And I have this written in my notes. I'm kind of going off book, but it just really hurts, and it's unfortunate, and it's just sad that not even like a month after he died, like a month and a half after he died, I had to go right back into the trenches and deal with another, like, minor, obviously, loss. It's a role, it's TV. My career is fine. I don't care about the career aspect of it. I just feel like I lost a piece of my dad on top of losing him. So yeah, back to the phone calls. So the producer's like pleading with me and telling me that this is the right decision for the project and that I need to understand it, and I kind of need to just accept it. And I was like, what is wrong with you? It was like psychological manipulation for no reason. I was like, you could just tell me I didn't book and get the fuck off my phone. You don't have to go into detail because you feel guilty because I'm going to be upset. But while they were talking to me, I was curious. I said, wait, I need you to tell me the truth, though. And I asked them, does the person you chose sound more like my dad than I do? And their response was, it's not about that. What? What the fuck was I auditioning for if it's not about that? I didn't understand why they would tell me that. I'm like, so you guys just had a preference? So you're telling me I was better than them, but you still went with the wrong? You went the other way? And in my opinion, it's the wrong decision. I'm sure by the time this shit comes out, it'll sound fine, it'll look fine, but I can't mentally handle the thought of my dead dad's voice trying to be manipulated and used for profit to be put on television for entertainment. That's me personally. No one at home has to deal with this. Some of my family might deal with this if it matters to them that much. But after they told me that, they told me that they chose the voice actor based off of their performance in the audition and not necessarily the skill of sounding like my dad. And that just didn't make sense. It still doesn't make, I don't get it. I don't get it because it's one of those things where my dad never recorded any lines for this. You got a completely different person who is doing their own unique and organic take on how my dad sounds. So to me, it sounded like that they were just going to get a new voice to play my dad, but for some reason they still wanted it to sound like my dad in some sort of way. And here's where things got kind of, they just keep getting weirder and weirder. I told him at this point, oh, okay, well, and mind you, I'm so cordial while this is happening. I'm not losing my shit or anything. I'm just kind of like, yes, I'm like listening and I'm trying to hold in my emotions. And I was like, all right, well, I mean, it is a reboot. It's not a continuation. It's a reboot of your series. So I guess in a sense, if you guys are going to go in a new direction, I guess that's fucking fine. Whatever. Do your new reboot version of my father. And it's funny because that struck a chord with them. They heard me say that and they immediately got frustrated and said, whoa, okay, listen. And it was like a harsh tone. And they said to me, no, it's still your dad. It's still in the vein of your dad. It's very much going to sound like your father. And I was like, then what? But why? I don't understand. You're telling me you're trying to manipulate and sound like him, but I gave you the product and you still didn't want that? And I think that's what kills me about it is just that they are sitting here telling me that this person took an organic take and a different, like a look at it from a different perspective on how it sounds to put a new spin on an already established voice. And that's something I never considered doing because I've done voice matching. I've done ADR. I've worked on films where I needed to sound like some other people. And they always tell you, stick to the script and sound like the person we're trying to make you sound like. So I couldn't fathom why they wanted to go in this weird direction. I still don't know. I have no idea. And also, I didn't understand why they would make that choice when the character is established, y'all. Unless you're literally going to change the cast and it's all new actors and it's a reboot, but these are new voices, sure, I could understand that. But my dad's voice as that character is established. We all know what Grandad sounds like. And he's been doing the voice for over 10 years. And when I was in my audition, I strictly focused on trying to sound as much like him as possible. Now, if they would have given me the note of, hey, maybe you can like do something organic that you think might sound original, then yeah, sure, I would have tried that. I would have spun it. I would have tried something that's not the usual. And I maybe would have had it more in my own vocal tone, or maybe like, I have no idea what I would have done. I didn't get that note in the auditioning room because no one gave me feedback. It was weird. Yeah, I just didn't understand why they would go that route when the character's been established and he's set in stone, y'all. Like, that would be like trying to change Uncle Ruckus all of a sudden. Like, he has a very distinct voice. And You wouldn't go off book for that. Nor would you for Grandad, Huey, Riley, any of them. Stinkmeaner. I don't know. Let me know if I'm tripping. So yeah, we're still on the phone, and they're still trying to throw more bullshit my way and say that the actor had more of a veteran's performance than you, JD, when auditioning, and you know it was just different than what you gave us in the room, and that threw me through a loop because I was just like, but when I was in the booth auditioning, no one said anything. You didn't give me feedback. I was in there doing, you know, like the voices, and you were nodding your heads. There were some people who were closing their eyes and they were listening, and they seemed like they were so excited, like, oh man, we got it. We're here. Oh, this is going to be great. Oh man. It was it was very confusing. And it's also one of those things where I didn't appreciate being discredited with that veteran shit line. I was like, listen, bro, I've been doing this shit. I've been doing voice acting for like the better half of 7+ years. And I was like, what are you even saying to me? It sounds like you're making excuses and giving me the runaround because you just don't want to admit that you or whoever high up made this decision, and you might have to live with the consequences. That's what I heard from it. And also, for those of you who are out there, it's one of those things where there's a difference between voice acting and trying to replay a character while you're on camera. Because, you know, when you're auditioning and you're on camera, you know, they just kind of let you go. And if they really like you, they'll give you a second chance. But when you're voice acting, the director or the producer is there with you, and they say, hey, let's try that a different way. So in the sense of that veterans performance bullshit, I sat back and was like, you're telling me that it was the difference between take 1 and take 2, neither of which you gave me any kind of feedback on? How was I supposed to know how you wanted it to sound? I personally think I did it on, like, I mean, it doesn't even make sense. Why would you say that I sound more like him and then make that statement? I don't understand. It's been rattling my brain for like 6 months. I'm trying to tell you, I learned this shit in January. I've been holding on to it for a while because I was just like, oh, who am I going to tell? What? Why? I don't know. And I was like really angry about it. So now I'm still angry, but I'm a little more level-headed, and I'm moving past it, you know? Now, I knew something was fishy when the next thing happened. So we finish up that part of the conversation, and as we're wrapping it up, the producer says, hey, JD, I know that you're not going to get a chance to play Grandad, but we still want to offer you a role. I was like, wait, for what? Why? I didn't book the one I auditioned for. It was like they wanted to give me a second place prize just so I didn't get mad, probably so I didn't make something like this, like a video where I gave my feelings out and all that shit. And they offered me the role to play my dad's character when he's younger. Young Grandad, flashbacks, you know, the ones where he's like in the army and all that shit. And I think to them, they thought that was like, oh, he'll love this. He's going to be so excited about this. But I was like, bro, that is demeaning and belittling of what I did in the booth. When you're telling me I nailed the voice, I can't have the voice, but here's some crumbs. Take these crumbs, and will this make you happy? I didn't think that made any sense, because at that point I knew who they had chosen for the role, and yet they wanted to take this character. And I want y'all to really think about this as a voice actor. If there's any voice actors out there, you'll get what I'm saying. You're going to take a character and split them in half into 2 different roles. And that way, it's that much harder for both actors to perform off of each other. Because if you split Grandad into old man and young man, I will have to be stuck trying to voice this person's poor impression of my own father. And also, it's just one of those things where the person who is going to voice them, if they're, you know, I'm sure with time they'll be capable of getting as far as they can to sounding like my dad, maybe. But I know who it is, and I know that if they were, it's one of those things where you can go into doing an old man's voice, and then you can come down and do your natural voice. So there's no need to split the character that was very much a, let's have our cake and eat it too type of moment, because I'm sure that if they chose me, there would be no conversation about splitting the role. I would do the old man voice, and then when I'm done doing the old man voice, I would bring it down and I would just talk kind of like the old man, but in this voice. Now, personally, I believe they made that random offer because they probably wanted to have a feel-good story for you all at home. Because here's the thing, and here's why I don't feel bad about making this content. I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I gave them time to put out a statement on casting. Like, do any of you all think it's a little odd that they casted the role in January, but no one has said anything about who they cast? And the main thing about that is, I think they're as aware as I am that, not that I'm perfect and I need to play the role. And I'm sure plenty of y'all would give me backlash. You'd be like, his son? Oh, who's his son? We don't know this dude. Man, he ain't his daddy, blah, blah, blah. Sure. I'm aware of that. I get that all the time. I've gotten that since I was a kid. That's fine with me. I would just have to show you all the work and explain to you that I'm very capable. I posted my voice acting reel the other day. For like half a second, I do my dad's impression on the show Sugar and Toys that I'm on. We did like a parody sketch of Friday the 13th, but it was based off of Friday.
Don't nobody go in the bathroom for the next 45 hours. Somebody open a window. Son, a real man don't need a gun. A real man uses these. Ain't gonna be no next Friday, or Friday after next, or Friday after that Friday, until someone in this motherfucker give me a check. Yeah, boy.
And from that clip, plenty of people reached out and said, oh, shit, JD, so you playing your dad, right, on the Boondocks, because you're him. Not necessarily him, you know what I mean? You are his seed. You are a professional voice actor. You are going to be the best person suited to make this as genuine as possible for the audience at home to enjoy it and also feel like Granddad's still here. So yeah, when they offered me that role, I told them on the phone, I don't think I'm going to take it. And they said, well, just wait for the offer and let us know how you feel. And I was like, I just don't think I'm already feeling how toxic this is. I'm not going to put myself in a place mentally where I'm going to work with people that I genuinely hate for this decision. Like, no, I wouldn't do that. I'd much rather try to avoid all of you for the rest of my life. But here's the thing that I think they were trying to pull off is they would have a feel-good story if I did agree to that. Because whenever they're gonna freaking release that information, which I think is not anytime soon now, I think they're just gonna produce the product. They could have had a story where they would have been able to choose the actor that they wanted for whatever reason, and also choose me to play younger Granddad, and then that way you get yourself like a Deadline article that says my last name and my dad's last name and also whoever they chose, and it looks good on paper for people who are, at home like you, who are like, oh, this is beautiful, this is great. I'm sure you would have said the same thing if you just would have casted me, but yeah. And it was one of those things where there was no other options. It was between me and one other person, and they went with the latter. And like I said, I don't know why. I have no idea why. After receiving this information and being told, "Oh, you sound more like your dad. We think you do a better version of your dad. You're going in there. Blah 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 blah." I'm like, so why did y'all make this decision when you knew it was going to get backlash? Because here's the thing, they knew. Because where is the article? I know who they chose, and I know that they enjoy posting whenever they book something. Because I've seen their social media. It's one of them things where it's like, yo, when you're an entertainer, you like to let people know that you're booking stuff. Nothing's come out. Because I'm sure PR has said, hey, do not say anything. This is a little touchy, and we might get hate for it, and we don't want to destroy the product before it comes out. So let's just keep it a secret, and we'll tell everybody the day it drops. But yeah, I say all that stuff because, it's been 6 months, and I received this information in January about their choice to cast who they chose, and it isn't someone who's close to my father. It's not me. And they still haven't made any public statements. So, there's a thought. I know that when we were wrapping up that phone call, they told me that somebody would be reaching out to me to give me the offer for young Grandad, right, on the show, even though I told them I'm probably not going to take it. Oh, here's the thing that they told me. They were like, JD, they were trying to like prove me wrong on the phone. They said, you can listen to the audition tapes, man. You can listen and you can tell for yourself. Now, trust me, in the moment, I wanted to be like, hell yeah, send them shits right now. Send those, but I was trying to be a professional about it, so I kind of was like, yeah, I guess maybe I'll listen to them eventually, because they wanted me to accept it. They wanted me to sit there and be like, you're wrong. Sorry, you're wrong. This is the right choice. You're tripping, JD. It was just one of the things that, like, in the moment, I didn't take up them on the offer because I was just traumatized. I was sitting there and I'm like, why is this happening to me? I just lost my dad. Why am I dealing with this right now? The funny thing. Here we go. Yeah, I'm reading it. The funnier thing is that I never got the role. That they never offered me this role that they supposedly had for young Grandad. I never got a call about it. I didn't even reach out to them about not wanting to do it. I just said that on the phone and I was waiting. And that offer never came. My agent was like, hey man, I don't even know if this is a real role. They were like, I'm waiting to hear back, and it never came through. And I think it's because it was just an idea on paper. I don't think that it was anything that was tangible towards what is coming out for the show yet. It's probably something that might come out later down the line, but right then and there, it was just kind of like, oh my God, let me get JD back on my side. I'll give you a role. And that's first off, stop trying to manipulate me. Secondly, no thank you, because I don't want to fucking work with y'all. Thirdly, yeah, no thanks. Oh, and also I know for a fact that it's not in the pilot because I have the pilot. I have it on my computer or my iPad or something, and I've read it. There's no young Grandad in there, so very odd that they would even bring that up. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that they offered me that, and they also thought to themselves, like, JD will love this. He'll be happy and excited to just be able to work with us and this and that and get this consolation prize and just be involved with the project at all. And I was like, do y'all think I'm a little baby or something? First off, your casting director got me fucked up because you didn't even bother to see if I like was a working voice actor. Secondly, I don't want to be a part. Who does that? I understand when you're not right for the role, so maybe they offer you something different, but I've never seen this before where it's voice acting, y'all. I'm not getting on camera. It's voice acting. I can sound old and then sound young, and so can the person they chose. So they know that this was just like a let's not get JD on our bad side type of situation. All right, so look, I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't even know how to explain this, but it felt like when he told me that, like, I lost my dad for a second time. It wasn't obviously as devastating, but it was just too close to losing him to not be just unbearably upset about it. And I also know that, some people might say that, and I mentioned this earlier, that I can't live up to my father, which is fine. I completely understand. People are biased. I get it. I don't want to be my dad. I did want to honor him in that moment, but I don't ever want to be him. And my dad showed me that respect because he knew I wasn't trying to be him growing up. I'm nothing like him. We don't look the same. We don't act the same. We might do similar things. I do stand-up comedy. I like to act. I'm an outgoing person. I don't know how to explain to you that if you grow up watching it, I was like, oh. And mind you, I wasn't like a kid actor. I got into it when I was like 20, like 10 years, like 19, 20, like early college. Because I wanted to originally be an artist, and then art didn't work for me. Because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with art. And people were like, well, you're funny. Why don't you try to act? That's the only reason I did it. I didn't do it because my fucking dad was an actor. That was his lane forever. It's always been his lane. I was uncomfortable when I started doing stand-up comedy because a friend of mine bet me that we should go do it. Like he just kind of like dared me to do it. And I was like, I don't want to do that. My dad does that. And next thing you know, I tried it and it was fun. And now it's just like a fun thing. I don't need to become a famous stand-up comic. I don't need to become a clone of him. That's not that is not my plan. Also, I feel like I'm getting very like snippy. So let me calm down a bit and let me continue telling you the story. Okay. I think it's just one of those things where at the end of the day, if they would have casted me for the role, I think all of you would have sat back and listened to me do what I do best. And I think everybody would have been happy to have me to be a part of it. And I think the people who are on the cast would have been happy as well, because I don't even know what their thoughts are of this whole situation. I'm not sure. And like I said, this is a very, very specific situation. I would never do this for anything else. I would never do this for a role, for a commercial I didn't book, or a TV gig that I didn't book. This is not about the role for me. This is about being a part of something that my dad was a part of and honoring him because he was my father. And I would never expect to be in, if they do a Fourth Friday, I don't expect to be anywhere near that. I know Cube. I'm good friends with Cube. I know, Mike Epps. I know Chris Tucker. I know all these people. They're friends of mine. I know Tiny Lister. I know all of them. Regina King. I know them all. But I don't expect anything like that. I don't expect you to throw me on camera to honor my father when we don't look anything like each other, or that that I didn't audition and earn it. I'm not expecting that from anyone. And even if that was a thing that they approached me for, it wouldn't even work. Like unless they did a scene where we're breaking like the damn near fifth wall instead of the fourth wall, and it's like me and my boy O'Shea, who's Ice Cube's son, and we redo the scene where my dad and Cube are doing the bathroom, or every time I come in the kitchen, eating all the food, all the hog maws, all the pig's feet. I like pig's feet. Sure, if that was the case, and we did that, and then O'Shea's character, like maybe he's like a fake version of Cube, like a young version, but he's not Cube, and he's like, "Where'd you hear that from?" And I'd be like, "I don't know, I heard it in a movie somewhere." Sure, that's a funny bit. That's a funny bit that you could put in a Fourth Friday movie. But other than that, I don't expect anything like that. I don't need it. I'm doing fine. I currently work on TBS. I'm on an animated show that's coming out soon. I have a second season of an animated series that I'm working on for Adult Swim. It's less about the work. It's more about the principle. Especially because I spoke with people about this that I know personally and in the industry, and they were like, "Yeah, that's weird." They know that's going to get backlash, right? They know that that's a slap in your face, right? Like that's like a fuck you to you and your family. And I'm not bringing my family into this because this isn't about them. This is my experience with this project. But I knew it was one of those things where I was going crazy for a minute. I was like, "Yo, do I not know what my dad sounds like? Am I not like the guy that not that I need to be, but what the fuck? What is this?" I was losing my shit, man. I was like having anxiety attacks. Like it was like panic attack. It was not cool. But they don't fucking care because they're just trying to make their fucking cartoon. I don't give a shit about that cartoon, dude. Like, my dad was on a bunch of stuff. I care about my dad. And I just hope people understand that. Like, if you have family and loved ones, or if you're related to someone who's in the industry and like you're going to lose them and it's going to become a spectacle, I hope you handle it well, because it's a lot. It's difficult. It's sad. Every place I turn, I feel like I see him. It like almost haunts my dreams sometimes. And I'm not yet emotionally equipped to deal with it. Like I will eventually, but it's just very tough, y'all. It's y'all see me post fun things online, and sometimes I post emotional stuff, and I'm not afraid of telling people about my emotions, but you're not there when I'm like crying all Father's Day because I don't have a father to celebrate with. And I know there's plenty of people who also don't have fathers. I'm within the first year of my dad dying and leaving me. So it's a lot more difficult for me right now. I know with time, hopefully it'll get better, or I'll be able to deal with it better. But it's still just like the worst. It's the worst. This is the worst feeling and the worst part. This is the worst thing I ever had in my life. I know I couldn't control it, but in my brain, he was supposed to be here for another, I don't know, 8-10 years, I guess, if he like was slightly healthier, or I don't know, or if we knew that maybe something was coming. I don't know. But the abrupt just, I'm checking out, and the last thing that me and him talked about had nothing to, it was just meaningless. Like, I mean, it wasn't meaningless. Like, talking to him meant something, but the conversation was like, we were just shooting the shit. You know, it's just like, you don't want to remember your last conversation as something like that, but you can't control it. And I don't know how to explain to y'all that this is just like really hard. I hope you understand. I hope you're not sitting here criticizing me thinking I'm just tripping over this. And, you know, I definitely am. I will say that I am, because it's personal. And I don't know how to act. That's the thing. I've never experienced this. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And then on top of that, the whole entertainment industry part is just, it's just dark and scummy, and it makes me like sometimes not want to be a part of it. So I can handle it. I got tough skin, but I also don't think I need to bury my head in the sand and be quiet about it. I think I should be able to speak my mind. So that's where we are right now. All right, so back to trying to explain the difference between acting on television and doing voiceover. So when it comes to doing the voiceover of my dad, you're not going to see me. You're not going to see me on the Boondocks. You're just going to hear my voice, and I believe I'm very good at channeling my father due to my skill set. And I think you all would have just got the best scenario for the cartoon reboot, personally. And at the end of the day, I think the show would have been done right. I think that's one of the things that's really killing me is it was as if when they were telling me this decision of theirs, they were like, yeah, we know it's the wrong decision, but we're going with it. And I was like, are you sure? And they were like, yeah, there's nothing you can say. We don't care about your feelings, and we don't think you are capable of giving us what we want, regardless of how good you think you are, or the fact that we told you that you sound better, you sound like your father more. So, yeah, with that being said, thank you for your service, and don't call us, we'll call you. It was one of those. I would sit back and think they know that this choice is probably one that would not fare well with people. I'm sure over time people aren't going to care. Nobody's going to cancel it. Don't boycott it. I don't fucking care. I don't give a shit. But it's one of those things where the fact that they have not said anything, and they were very vocal at a certain point prior to my dad passing away, it speaks volume. Just, hey man, put it out. I'm sitting here, I'm still giving them grace. That's the thing. I could sit here and give out names. I could go through my phone. I could do receipts. I could do all this tacky shit, this petty shit, but I'm still a professional at the end of the day, and I'm not going to throw them under the bus like that because they've already set themselves up for the shits. So when they choose to, they'll choose to. I tried to wait. I sat back and was like, oh, it'll probably take them like a week. Okay, it'll probably take them like a month. Okay, 2 months. Okay, they're probably going to put out a statement in like 3 months, 4 months, 5, 6. I'm like, oh, they're not going to say shit. They're not going to say a fucking thing because they don't want anyone on the other side, on the consumer market, the people who are going to watch the show, they don't want anyone putting any bad karma on it, which I get. You want your product to go and you want your product to do well. But it's shady, man. It's scummy. It's like, it's not even scummy to me. I feel like it's shady to the fans, like loyal fans who want the show to be done right and taken care of. And these are characters that they care about. I would much rather them have said something by now and dealt with the PR backlash, and then eventually everybody gets on the same page. And then I could have given my thoughts. But I came to terms with, oh, they're not going to say anything, JD. So the only time that you have planned to respond is the week it drops. the week it comes out, and then people hit me up like, yo, I see you on the Boondocks. And I'm like, yeah, no. Guess again. At this point, where I am now, I pretty much assume that it was a decision that must have been just like a Hollywood move. I think, because it was weird, because I asked the producer, I was like, the creative director, the producer, whoever I was talking to, I was like, hey, is this something where like you wanted me, but they said we don't want him? You know, maybe they were like, he's not big enough. He's not famous enough. He's not someone who's on, I don't know, fucking on TMZ enough. I'm thinking maybe that was it. Possibly. I could understand that. I don't think I'm a celebrity. I think I'm on my way to building my own path, a path that a lot of you are, you know, may or may not want to follow on the journey, but maybe that was it. I could see that being a thing. But I mean, I'm still proud of all the work I've done. I'm proud of everything I'm going to do. I'm excited for whatever new opportunities happen. This was just one of those ones where I was like, I really I can't believe that they would go the other way. They did not blame it on the production company. They did not blame it on the network. They were just adamant in saying that that was the right choice, and I needed to accept it. And oh well, let me get into this because I didn't sign any fucking NDA, so I'm not afraid of talking. I'm not calling anybody out, but I am saying that when they had me audition, they were telling me about how they want to use audio technology to try to make the performance and possibly pull old audio clips from old episodes of the Boondocks to create this like deep fake audio. Have you guys ever seen that video where Joe Rogan talks talks and it's not his voice and it's like a Google Assistant talking?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of I'm Not Joe Rogan. No, seriously. I am not. This is Joe Rogan speaking, an artificial intelligence created by Dessa. You guys know David Barstow. He's a New York Times reporter who won the most Pulitzer Prizes for journalism in history. He recently followed a crazy deep learning company called Dessa, as they created the world's first combination of realistic AI, voice and video. Here's what they created. I've been thinking, and I realized that it's been almost 10 years since the first episode of the podcast. That's fucking crazy. This show has become my life. That's why I decided to go out with a bang. So on December 24th, we'll be doing our last episode ever. That's exactly 10 years since the first episode came out. It's been a good run, and we're all going on.
They're trying to get something like that in order for you all to have the illusion that that sounds like my dad talking on the new episodes or new series, whatever it is, of the Boondocks. So it's like deep fake technology, but for audio, in order to make the voice actor sound as much like my dad as possible, using a mixture of their performance plus deep fake audio, and possibly grabbing old clips, is what I just said, audio clips. And from previous seasons, it's like they're going to do that in Frankenstein, some type of weird fake version of my dad. And that is like so fucking scary to me. And when they told me that, I was confused because I was like, hey, I don't think you're going to need to do that if you hire me. I think I'll be able to hit it on the nose enough for you guys to maybe pitch up my audio, pitch down my audio, maybe tweak it a bit, and we'll get it there. But this weird technology that they want to use to recreate his voice out of nowhere, that's just overwhelming, and I don't even want to think about that. I don't want to think about a world where I have to sit back and see a commercial for a TV show that my dead father is on, and he's nowhere near here. And also the fact that they're gonna try to own his voice. And from what I know, my family's not involved to any of that. My mom has not spoken to anybody over there at their camp. I know I'm not involved. So it's really sketchy, and I'm not a fan of what it is that they're trying to do. But you know, when it comes to Hollywood, they don't care. Hollywood doesn't give a shit about my feelings. And you know, and specifically with the people that I was in contact with, it was just all about them being right, me being wrong, being told that I basically was not good enough to play my own father, despite the fact that that their choices will probably inevitably bring backlash. None of that mattered because they refused to back down when I questioned it. You know, it's till this day, like I said, I don't know the reason or the criteria for their choice. And after this whole situation, I reached out to some friends, right, in the industry to get their opinion. When I told them about this, because they know the people that are in these circles, and they've also had experiences with the people that I worked with, and they weren't too surprised about how things went down. They were saying along the lines of, oh, yeah, I mean, this is really disappointing and it sucks for you, but I don't put it past the people that you were in talks with. This is how they operate, and this is just part of their process. Also, with that, I would like all of you to know, everybody to know that, you know, I don't believe, and I believe I mentioned this earlier, I don't believe I just deserve my father's role because I'm his son. I hope nobody here is watching and thinking that. This situation is more the fact that I felt like the casting decision was wrong, and since they still refuse to let me hear the audio, by the way. I didn't get a chance to explain that to you, did I? I didn't get a chance. The fact that when I asked them finally for the audio, oh yeah, they were like, nah, we're good. When I got that type of inkling of, oh, something sketchy's going on, I think that I'm right in how I feel about this whole situation. I wasn't considering making the money. I wasn't even thinking about any of that stuff. Whatever he was going to get paid, they weren't going to pay me that. I'm not my dad. I don't have his star in this entertainment industry that allows me to be paid X amount of large dollars for whatever. I'm absolutely sure they would have tried to low cut me or undercut me or lowball me. I'm fine with that. I damn near would have almost done. I would have done it probably for free, just because it's like the last piece of him on this earth that's still gonna be around, that is like tangible. So I don't know, my emotions got the best of me, and they still do, and I just wanted to be a part of a piece of his life. But, you know, I never have been a part of any of his entertainment endeavors, so I kind of look at it from the perspective of, well, JD, I never really, I mean, me and him shot like one TV show pilot together. But other than that, you know, he never gave me handouts. I never expected them. So I hate that this situation happened, but I know I'll be able to live with it, is what I'm trying to say. I also never thought that this would like help my career. I hope none of you think that. I was like, yo, I don't care. I lost like the one dude who really understood me. I don't care where my career really goes from now on. I'm very cavalier about it. You know, if people want to hire me, great. If they don't, then they don't. I can figure something else out. In a perfect world, my dad would just still be alive, y'all. Like, it would be that simple. My dad could still be here. He would have done this job, and I would have never had anything to do with this shit. And I would not have to feel like this. I wouldn't have to be so emotionally just worn down. I could just be living my life normally. And I mean, I would have at least, even if he still passed away, I wish he would have just finished this one job too. Not for my sake, but just so that, I don't know, just so that like you all could have gotten a chance to enjoy him for one last go and all that other jazz. But I mean, I saw all the other stuff, all the threads, I don't know, the gossip blogs and people who were saying that they should just, you know, get rid of his character. Hey, I'm with that too. Honestly, at this point, I considered that. I was very much in the mindset that like, if they don't hire me, or even if they did, maybe an out would be a good idea, just so that you can pay respects to the character. And I even saw the thread about how I think they were saying like Jennifer Lewis could play the grandma. I was like, yo, low key, that's a funny bit. The entertainment industry is not going to just take a idea off the internet and go and run with it. But I wouldn't have mind that. I wouldn't have mind them swapping Jennifer Lewis in for the role, man. Like, that way you could like, I mean, I get it though. My dad is not the character, and that's the thing. I know that my dad is not Granddad, but at the end of the day, y'all not going to act like Granddad was not maybe based off of my father, or the fact that without my dad, there is no Granddad. And I'm saying that knowing that even I wouldn't be able to do him 100% justice, but I think that I would be able to give you all a product that you would have went home and watched the show and enjoyed it and sat back and been really happy just to know that like I was trying to honor him as much as possible. Because, you know, at the end of the day, when you think about this character, what do you think about? You think about my dad, man. I just thought it'd be really special if I could keep his like star alive for just a little bit longer. I don't want to eat off of my dad while he's dead. I think that is fucking gross. All right, I know that I'm trying to receive the role, but I don't want to milk him for what he's worth, or a dead person for what he's worth. It's one of those things where this show's going to happen with or without me. I would much rather it be with me than without me. But I'm at the point where I know that that's not going to happen, and I don't care anymore. So I just wanted to voice what happened and give you all what my situation was. I think it's just one of those things where if they would have at least done the back work of let's get somebody who people can resonate with similar to John, instead of trying to carbon copy Frankenstein his voice so we can make this cartoon. So like, look, after sitting with this information for probably 3 weeks, maybe a month or something, and never getting an offer to play young Grandad, I finally wrote a text thread, like a long one, to the creative producers and the people who I was working with and talking with, and just gave them my thoughts on the project, and just told them I was like, yo, I think you guys made the wrong decision. And I tried to explain to them that the last few seasons of the TV show didn't, you know, I know the fans didn't love them, season 4 and 5, you know, because they were kind of like displaced, and the creative team behind it was a little off on the show, and it left the vibe of the Boondocks in season 4 and 5 feeling really non-organic to its original 3 seasons, which to me that's the best. That's what the fans love. And when I was trying to explain that to them, I was trying to really get it through to them that casting someone who doesn't know the nuances of my dad the way that I do, it means that they're going to miss out on certain genuine things that my dad does that nobody else knows about, that he displayed to me throughout my whole life, you know. And it's whether it's growing up and understanding his cadences, his speech patterns, the way he eats, the way that he breathes, the way that he talks, the different octaves of his voice, how he laughs, how he like gets upset. I just think that's the type of stuff that is to me it's gonna sound really bare bones. So like I was trying my hardest to like get those points through to them, and that, you know, if they chose to go down this route, you're gonna get more backlash than originally anticipated. And I'm sure that the backlash, it might not last forever. It won't last forever. People eventually you'll watch it, and if you tune in, you might like it. Who knows? For a TV show that a lot of people who are really excited to watch, those of you at home, I believe that is the main reason that you haven't heard any updates on this other than this. This is going to be the update, and like, I don't know, this might get picked up by news articles, all that stuff. I'm just speaking and talking about how I feel. I'm not trying to throw anybody in particular under the bus. I'm just telling y'all what my situation was. There's been no updates on the show since my dad died because, you know, they're trying to produce it, y'all. Oh, y'all know they're working on it, right? Like it's being worked on like right now, and they're trying to make the product so that they can distribute it without receiving any negativity, you know, so that once you see the show, you can't really go and complain. What are you going to do? It's already out, you know, and hopefully, and like, you know, on their terms, they're probably going to sit back and say, all right, cool, it's out. Hopefully people like it. Hopefully we get picked up for more seasons, this and that. And it's like, I'm not here trying to cancel a whole goddamn show. I'm really not trying to do that. I'm just trying to tell you that best of luck with whatever this is. Let me be clear. This is not me just trying to plead my case to want to voice my dad's role still, because at this point I know it's not possible. It's not going to happen, because with all the people that are involved, it would be the most toxic work environment ever. And I don't even think I could bring myself to work with these people now after what has transpired, and vice versa. I doubt they want to fucking work with me. They're probably going to sit back and be like, no, we're good. And I remember after sending them my original text thread about how I felt, their response, which came like many days later, was nothing. It was silence. I got the cold shoulder, and they practically just started ghosting me. And I think they told people who work on the production, like, don't contact him anymore. Don't talk to him. We don't want, the train is going. We do not want him getting on. And yeah, you know, that was really upsetting, because I've known these people since I was a kid, I realize that they do not know me as JD Witherspoon, the actor, the performer, the voice actor, the impressionist, the stand-up comedian, the whatever, I don't know, online influencer stuff that I do every once in a while. All they know is me as my father's son. And I sit back and say that that's possibly the same for a lot of you all who are watching me in the last 6 months or since my dad died. You probably are in the same boat. You don't really know me. You're trying to get to know me, but I think it's just one of those things where I would really appreciate if y'all understood that I had my own career prior to my dad dying. I was my own person, and when my dad passed away, you know, everybody started searching the internet for answers and ending up on social media pages, and they ended up following me because I was the only person in my family who really, like, I'm on the internet like that. I understand you're, like, following to, like, honor my dad, and I appreciate that. But I understand that a large majority of you all only know me as John Witherspoon's son. I'm not crazy. I'm not sitting here. I'm not going to get mad at you all if that's why you followed. Because I've had people say, like, hey, now don't get it twisted, son. I ain't following you because I know you. I'm following you because you're daddy. Sure. That's fine. I cannot control that. So whatever. I don't mind. That's not a big deal. I think it's one of the things where it's like not unfortunate, but it's discouraging, I guess. But I get it. Like, yeah, sure. I follow you because you're friends with so-and-so. Sure. I know that that's a real thing, and I've had to deal with it all my life, so this is not news to me. I would love for you all to get to know my background and understand how hard I've worked to get where I am, and maybe, you may or may not assume, like, I'm sure that plenty of you, because this is just how it has been ever since I've been a kid. It's just like, oh, you're just who you are because of your dad. Sure, man. I can't make those people change their minds. I know that there's plenty of people who are listening to this, who follow me, who knew me for a while before my dad ever passed away, or even before they knew who my dad was. I had friends in the stand-up comedy community who had no idea that he was my dad because I just don't bring it up. It's not the opener for my conversations. I don't start with, hey, guess who my dad is. I'm not that type of person. My dad is not the type of person to teach me that, like the whole nepotism thing. It's one of those things where he worked hard because that's what he was about. And his working hard taught me work ethic. Same with my mother and family members. That's very diminishing of everything that I'm capable of or everything that he's capable of. Like if it was vice versa and people knew him for me, or if people know some of my family members because they follow me online, like my brother or my wife or my best friends or my mom or whoever. It's just, it's unfortunate when people try to use that as a reason to justify, I only support you because of this. All right. I get it. I just don't think it's healthy to go around only doing that. But that's just how I feel. And I would just say that at the end of the day, my dad knew how hard I worked, and also just that I never wanted to use him or clout chase or ride his coattails to become who I was. And that's one of the reasons that I really love my dad, because he knew how different I was from him and he was from me. He would never sit back and say, oh, JD, you following in my footsteps, huh, JD? he would never say that, bro. If y'all knew my dad, if y'all really knew my dad, oh my goodness, he don't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit. He never gave a shit about stuff like that. He gave a shit about like me as a fan, as his son, but it was never a concern of his about if I was going to need his help to get anywhere in life. He led by example, is what I would like to say. And also, I think you all know, or maybe you don't know, because now I've been posting about him all the time because I'm really upset that he's gone. But prior to that, I would post every once in a while, but we didn't have like a father-son entertainment relationship like some families. That's not what we did. Like, my dad was focused on his career and providing for us, his family. And, he supported me up until he didn't have to, which has been like damn near 10 years. Like, I haven't needed anything from my parents in a while. Maybe 8 years. Maybe I'm being generous. Maybe I was a little generous with the 10. Maybe a little generous. But, he supports me. He supports my brother, my mom, and whatever that we want to do in our lives. He was committed to his craft and appreciated and respected that I had my own hustle. You know, I had my own hustle, and I wanted to get my own, and not ever really use him as a reason for why I'm not successful, or I should jump on the bandwagon. Like when I was growing up, I would always have people telling me that. They would be like, "Oh man, your dad's an actor, man. What you doing? You got your foot in the door, huh? You probably getting it." I'm like, I don't know who you think my dad is. My dad is not looking for young 20 to 30-year-old roles. He's booking roles for him, and he's getting offers that are for him. He has, I think maybe once has mentioned like, "Hey JD, you should go in for this. I know someone there." But I'm like, all right, cool, man. Well, you have to make that call. I don't know them. And I think that's what it is. Even with this situation, I think that's what it is at the end of the day. Those people who made that decision don't know me. And they didn't care to get to know me, which is really sad because they've met me multiple times in the last 15, 16 years, but they did not know me they didn't know me farther. They don't, what's the word? I don't know them farther than I can throw them. They only knew me as my dad's son. Same with my brother and my mom. I mean, to an extent, it's just one of those things where it's like these are the people that are attached to him. So I mean, when noticing that, I don't even know why the fuck they let me in the room then. if you weren't going to do any due diligence and check out what I'm capable of, but I don't know. I'm just saying that none of that stuff like nepotism, riding coattails, that's not what helped me become who I was today. Just for those who may think that, because I get those comments. I get people in my chat, in my comments, "Man, you not your dad. You are not your dad. You'll never live up to him." I don't want to. I want to live my own life, and he respected that and appreciated that. So that's not a plan that I ever had. I'm always going to be myself, and I recommend that you all do too. I don't think you should follow in your parents' footsteps. I think everybody should be their own individual person. That's what I think. So that's what my dad thought too. All right, so finally, a certain amount of time went by, and I finally got a response from the creative producers that I was originally in talks with, and they responded to my long thread about my concerns for the show, and they responded with very, very short, one-worded answers about how it wasn't their fault that I didn't get chosen, and that the network and the production company are the ones who made the final decision. And I was like, but wait, you did not say that when I asked you that. When I originally asked you, is this a thing where you can't really make any moves? They were like, no, this isn't that. You're just not the guy. And then they started backtracking later down the road. At this point, I was like really getting down on myself. I genuinely thought to myself, okay, you're not good enough to play your dad, JD. You need to come to terms with this and let this go. So I asked them, hey, could you please send me the voiceover audition tapes via email, as they promised they would, because they threatened me with it, where it's like, hey, you might as well listen to the voicemail, bro. Trust me. You're tripping, dude. And I was like, send that shit over then. And here's the funny thing. At first, they told me that it would be no problem, right? But then a week went by, and I received a message from one of the creative producers' teammate or their partner from the project, and they texted me and said that I would not be able to receive the auditions due to the production company and the network saying that they need to be under lock and key all of a sudden. And then they said if I wanted to listen to them, I would have to go back to the studio where I auditioned and listen to them in that place. That way I can't get out of there and run off with the tapes or whatever the fuck they thought I was going to do with them. I guess they assumed I was going to TMZ them or some stupid shit. I'm like, bro, I'm not. Why? That's a waste of my time. I mean, I'm talking about it right now, but I'm not outing anyone. I haven't said anybody's name. And hey, don't witch hunt, please. It's not this deep. I just want people to hear my side, because eventually I'm going to have to say it anyway. So there's no need to go on some freaking witch hunt. That's silly. That's just silly nonsense. But, I wanted the audition tapes, right? Because I wanted closure, man. At this point, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm having anxiety attacks, panic attacks. I can't function properly. Losing my dad is a lot. I'm not dealing with this well. And the only other gripe that I had with everything that went down was the fact that they mentioned that one person who was part of the decision making, who was supposed to be heavily involved in the project of the show, who I personally know who it is, but I'm not going to say. And they said that person was refusing to want to take part in the production unless they got the job done right. At that point, I had never gotten confirmation on what that person thought of my voiceover audition. So those were the two things that would have solidified my knowledge on the situation, to know if I genuinely wasn't good enough by listening to those tapes, and if the person who they had mentioned who did not want to be a part of it, who was an integral part of this whole project, had actually heard them and also agreed. Because that's the thing. I was starting to come to terms with, hey, if this person heard your tape, JD, and they're just like, I'm not feeling it, then you got to accept it. It was just one of those things where I was getting that from somebody who was being very, very egotistical and narcissistic with their way of telling me that you're not it. No. Well, you think you this and that. Like it was bad. It was really, and it was just unnecessary. You could have just said, hey, you didn't book it, bye. But they had to go into detail and try to explain why, and try to get me on the right page and try to accept it. And I was like, this is not how this usually works. I've auditioned for things and never had to feel this shitty about not getting a job. So then I reached back out to the producer and I told them that I was willing to go into the studio immediately and listen to the tapes as soon as possible. But then they kept giving me the runaround, ignoring my texts, and our schedules were never linking up. Till this day, this is what I'm trying to tell y'all. I have not heard my audition tape or the person that they originally casted. And I know that that is not the usual. Like I would, in any other situation, I would never be offered to hear anyone else's tape or mine. But they had originally told me that they wanted my input. They said, we want you to be a part of this process, whether you book it or not. And I was like, okay, cool, for sure. Keep me in the loop. And if I were to get a chance to at least listen to the person they chose and my audition, I would get closure. And then secondly, I would sit back and like give them honest feedback and say, hey, this person is or isn't doing my father justice. Hence why I was like, can you just send the tape? Stop being weird. And like I said, listen, y'all, this whole situation was traumatizing. I don't know why. It just was. Like, it was a lot to deal with on top of the fact of losing my dad so recently, between the time of me getting all this other information that I was getting. And I just was not, I still am not handling it, not just this situation, but losing my dad well emotionally. And I know that sounds a little over the top because it sounds like I'm just crying over not booking a role. But it like I told you, it's not about just booking the role. It's about, like, I wanted to just honor my own father. They told me I was the right guy for the job, but then told me you're not getting it. It's all this stuff. It's very manipulative, gaslighting, psychological, unnecessary tactics that I felt like I had to go through. And, I still struggle with it today because, it just feels like a piece of my father was taken away from me. The fact that they're just going to manipulate his voice, man, that's going to hurt, dude. That's going to hurt so much when they manipulate his old audio with whatever that new performance is. And next thing you know, somewhere in the near future, I'm going to have to accidentally come across a commercial and listen to that shit and just start crying for no reason, knowing that that's not a voice that is coming out of a real person. That guy is dead. And to me, that's just it's just a terrifying feeling. I'm not looking forward to that. And some of y'all might sit back and say it's not that deep, but it's just like, listen, man, the littlest things make me upset about losing my dad. Like I sometimes I'll look at my own feet and I'll see his toes because we have like the same feet, and my brain just goes through a mental overload of emotion. I'm working on it. Like, I'm going to therapy. So, I'm lucky because at this point I have like a good support system to help distract me from the situation. And it's not about the job because I work, y'all. Like, I'm on TBS every Friday night. I'm going to be on Fuse TV maybe later this year. And then I got a show on Adult Swim that's going to be coming out soon. It's not about the job. It's about the principle. It's about doing what's right, and it's about doing right by my father. But after being told that I could not go listen to the audio, I went out of my way to contact the person who was supposed to be a part of this decision making who they said it was between. Remember the producer, the creative producer I was in the room with at my audition, the network, the production company, and this one integral person who was a part of the process of the show going through to the point where if they were to leave, the show may or may not have been possible depending on their creative takes. So I went out of my way, and I because I've known these people for so long, so I emailed that person who was supposed to be a part of that ultimatum decision that would have, I don't know, maybe or maybe not changed the course of the show. And I sent an email just saying, hey, I hope you're well. Thank you for being a part of my dad's life, and I wish you the best. And it would have been great to work on this project with all of you. And I didn't hear anything for like a month. And here's where shit gets weird. I got an email back like a month or a month and a half later from that person who they said was supposed to be helping make the decision for who they cast. And this is literally what their email said. Not all of it, but just some of the words that I have in quotes. And the response from my email where I told them, hey, I wish you all the best of luck. It's going to be really upsetting not to be able to work with you all, but hey, best of luck. They said, hey, JD, I don't know what the producer's criteria was in choosing, but I am disappointed that you are not playing Grandad. Now, mind you, when I read that email, I was tripping. I was like, wait, I thought you co-signed on this. They told me that you were a part of it. And the way that they wrote that means they never probably even heard my audition. So I was lied to. For what reason, I don't know. That's the thing. I'm trying to tell y'all. It's like a goddamn murder mystery that I've had to deal with for the last 6 months. And when I got that email, I literally was floored finding out the truth of the situation, which is they lied to my face. And it's probably the fact that the person who was telling me that probably had more creative control than they were leading on. And they were probably like, I'm just not going to choose you, but I'm going to lie to you and make you feel better. and I was like, wait. I replied with, wait, what are you talking about? I was told that you were supposed to be part of the casting choice and the production decisions and the creative this and this and that. And I was lied to, man. Basically, the people who said that they were involved in the decision making for the show, which gave me the confidence to think that I was going to book it, were never a part of it. And like till now, I still don't understand why these people would give me false information, especially especially when this all revolves around my dad. Not saying that, oh, I got to get the role. I'm saying, yo, y'all know that y'all are really being fucked up to his firstborn son. And for what? You could have just saved me the trouble and said, JD, we're not, you can't come in to audition. I would, I mean, that would have sucked too, but at least I wouldn't have to go through this fucking roller coaster of emotion and lies and deceit and betrayal. It just sucks. It's fucking trash. And I just don't understand it. After that, I had reached back out to this person and said, thank you for giving me this information. Then after that, I tried my hardest to follow up and get the audio from the producers because I got one of my questions answered. Question number 1, did the person that was supposed to be making this decision that I was confident I would have gotten the role from make any decision? No. They weren't even involved. I was lied to about their involvement, and they said they don't even know what the criteria was for producers to choose who they chose. So now I wanted to follow up with question number 2. Let me hear the audio. Let me hear if this person is genuinely that good. And if they sound if they sound more like my dad than I do, I'll let it go. Even though they told me they didn't, I'll still let it go. Cause I'm like, yo, I just want out of this fucking maze of torment and just frustration. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. So I followed up with the producers to get the voiceover audio so that I could finally have closure and once and for all figure out if I did a better job than who it is that they chose and who they, in my opinion, made the wrong choice to get y'all your Boondocks. But guess what happened? Right when we were set up to have a meeting, because they were going to let me come back to the studio and listen to the audio in the studio, they pulled a fucking 180. And last minute, they told me, sorry, JD, the studio or the network, I don't know which one, has told us that they are refusing to let anybody listen to the tapes due to possible internal troubles that are going on with the project. I don't even know if that was it. They just told me, hey, they're not doing it anymore. And at that point, I was like, what? I was like, yo, that's why I don't feel bad making this video. I don't. Because they're proving me right. They were proving me right at that point. I got my answer about this person who you guys said was going to quit the whole project if they didn't get a chance, if the right person wasn't cast. I finally hear from them that they think the wrong person was cast. And I'm hearing from y'all that, hey, I want to hear my audio. Shit, I don't know if they even gave them my good audio. They could have given them all my bad takes. All the takes that I told you about that I think were bad, that I told them, hey, let's not save that. Let's skip that and try again. That could have been my whole audition tape. I don't know. I doubt it's that deep and that manipulative, but I don't know. They lied to me once. Why not? Why not, man? And like I said, I think they thought I was going to TMZ them and expose them by releasing the audio, which personally I would just never do because it's dumb. And I have the full pilot. I could leak that on Reddit and tell everybody what happens in their comeback episode, which is like, I think it's going to be like a 1-hour TV special for the Boondocks. I don't know. There you go. A leak. Ugh. Yeah, man, whatever. And then, I even reached out to the casting. This is a little fun fact. This is a little fun nugget at the end. I reached out to the casting director because they were in the room that day and they told me, have you ever been in front of a mic? And I reached out to the casting director and I just asked them, hey, could you just explain to me what the process was for this? I'm not trying to cause trouble. I don't want you to be upset. I don't want anybody who's your superior to be upset. I just would like a final answer to why this happened. And after I wrote basically a whole soliloquy or whatever it is that I'm doing, a whole thread to see if I could get some information from the casting director to see if they were just human enough to just tell me the truth. They didn't do anything. They read all my messages. I messaged them on Instagram and they left me on red. Their shit said seen. So they saw everything I said, but they didn't fucking respond. And I was like, okay, I'm never going to get my answers from this whole thing. So I'm going to have to let this go eventually. So yeah, after things have died down, I haven't spoken with anybody, y'all. I haven't spoken with anybody about this since, because every time since I tried reaching out to them the last time, I just get they just ghost me now. They ghost me. They don't respond to my texts, my messages, my calls, any of that, and I kind of just gave up and just started moving on with my life because now it's been a decent amount of time. This shitty show is going to come out this fall, and I'm going to therapy not just because of this show, obviously, more because my dad is gone. And my own personal anxieties and issues and insecurities, I just go in there and I talk about them. And I'm just gonna have to work on the mental side and just try to get past all this. And I for those of you who aren't aware, and I mentioned this a little earlier, they've been in production. The show is happening. It's gonna come out. They've been working on the reboot right now for 6 months. And by now they're probably done with all the voiceovers, which, fuck it. I please don't respond saying, oh my God, JD, we got to get him that role back. No, It's not gonna happen. It's not worth it. It's not even. I don't even think it's an idea or a thought. So no need to waste your powers of persuasiveness on that. I don't necessarily even want to do it anymore. Not especially not with the people who are working on the show. I much rather move on with my life because no good could come from this anymore. I'm trying to leave it alone and let it die out. And I think the most disappointing part of all of this is that these are people that I've known for like half of my life, and they didn't have faith in me to be able to honor my own father. And they really set their hell bent and set on using someone else from an outside source who they think would be better suited for the role, even though I'm a working voice actor and I'm a lot more than just his son. So yeah, y'all, we're wrapping it up. In the end, I will not be voicing my father in the Boondocks as Grandad, and neither me nor my family are involved with anything revolving around this upcoming reboot of the Boondocks. So look, if you're a fan of the show, hey, do whatever the fuck you want. Support it if you want to. But personally, I'm not going to be watching it, nor can I support it, because at the end of the day, that is not my dad. Whatever it is that they're concocting in there, that Frankenstein monster, that's not my dad, and that is just some voice actor who doesn't know him at all, and some deep fake computer algorithm trying to force the voice of a dead man to come through your television screens later this year. Yeah, so that's it. I'm at the end of my notes, and with that, R.I.P. Grandad, and R.I.P. to my father. I'll see you later.